Question: when was the last time you actually looked at old photos on your PC, on your smartphone, or even your TV? Hardly ever? Because that's how I feel, and that's why I want to talk to you about how and why you should print your own photo book using Lightroom today. Okay, so this video will be structured into 3 different parts. In the first part, I just want to talk about why you should actually print your photo book, how it has helped me, what I see as a benefit. In the second part, I'm going to give you your first tips on how you can actually get started. We're going to talk about how to print and how to design your photo book using Lightroom Classic. Third and last, I want to talk about some mistakes you should avoid while creating your first photo book. So let's start with number 1. Photography to me is a way to remember the past. We have this ability to use our smartphone or to use our camera just to capture a moment, to freeze a moment in time, and then to go back to it years later. The problem is, I'm just speaking for myself, I hardly ever do. I never take out my phone and be like, okay, let's look at some photos. No, the device is too small. It's kind of annoying. I won't go the extra step to actually put the images on a TV. It's too much work. The barrier is too high. Well, that's where the photo book comes into play. And Anna and I, for the first time, for ourselves, actually created a photo book that captures and entails basically all the small and bigger moments from one year, from last year, 2023. We call it chapter 26 because we were 26 years old at that time. And we started at the beginning of the year, just having like moments from our place here in Hamburg, and then went through all the big adventures that we had. We traveled to Scandinavia, we traveled to Greece, we visited friends in Bavaria, in Berlin, and we captured all of these moments in this small little book. And honestly, it's been one of the best decisions ever. Why? Because I actively would go pick up the book, open it, and just look at the images. Just actively by it laying around in the living room, by it being on a shelf. It may be in the corner of my eye, but I do choose to still take it. And the reason is it's already there. It's a low barrier. You can just pick it up, you can open it, you can start reading, or you can start looking at the images. I can tell you, I have picked up this book more times in the past 3 months than I've ever looked at old photos before. Like, so often. And therefore, our next step is basically showing you how you can make your own in Lightroom. Basically, I just want to show you what are the first steps that you have to take, what is in Lightroom, what do you have to be prepared for. So let's get into it. I've opened the program already. The first thing I would do is sort through your photos by creating a smart collection. So you go up here, create smart collection, say Photobook. And then what you'll do is, well, let's say rating higher than 3. And then we'll do another category, and that'll be label color. There you go. And we'll do green. Great. So what I just did is basically create a smart album, which is down here. And as long as those 2 categories, meaning I'll give it a rating that's higher, 3 or higher, and I'll give it a label color, the green one, those photos will appear in this album. So let's go through the photos, and well, this one I already gave a 3-star rating, so let's make that green. So, as you can see, I labeled them green and they're in the album. The next step is, well, press book on the top right. So what happens is Lightroom takes all of your photos at first and adds them into the photo book up until the maximum number of pages, which is usually, I think, 250, because Lightroom works with Blurb for this, which is the provider and the printer. So since now all pictures are in here and not just the ones selected, what I'll do is basically clear the book. That gives us a clean slate and we can start from scratch. And the first thing you have to be aware of are the book settings, which is up here. And these basically just define what kind of book you want, what the paper type will be, how's the cover, do you want a logo on the page, which you probably do if you want to do this as just like a little private project, since that'll save you some money. Yeah, and basically what I like is, and what we did for ours, was the standard portrait layout. And we went for the standard paper. Why? Because we wanted more than 250 pages. As soon as you have premium paper, you're limited to 250 pages, which just wasn't enough for us because we were trying to fit an entire year into this photo book. So that's the very first thing I would do. Now let's go through the modules on this right side of Lightroom and just basically I'll explain what they do. This first one is how you add pages. It's the page module. And what you can do is, well, if you click on here and then you add a new page gets added. You can choose from various layouts, as you can see here, and you can actually make your own custom layouts. Those will be saved here under custom pages, and also create favorites. So if you go on a page and you want it as a favorite, you have this small little dot. If you press it, it'll be added to favorites. Yes. We'll do custom pages in a bit. Let's continue on the site for now. Then you have guides, which I rarely used. I used them to basically align two photos or text to one another, but besides that, they kind of are not necessary, I'd say. You have a page grid right here. You have guidelines which you can use. Photo cells, page bleed, and text safe area, I'd always keep on. The reason for that is basically these will allow you to see what might be cut off when the book is printed. So if we go in here and we make it bigger, you see here's the gray part, and you also see a bit of shade in the middle and on the sides. And if I put those off, in the middle it's still there, on the side it's gone though. So you'll see what may be in a danger zone if you go over that area. And the last thing is the photo cells. As you can see, these are gray, and that's where you basically add your photos into. Yeah, that's the first thing. If you want to add your own photo cell, you go right click, add cell photo. That's number one. Or if you want to add some text, you go right click, add photo description. That's option number two. You can make this big, and then we'll continue. Basically the cell module is, well, just how much padding, how much border control you have. I'm not going to go into that specifically. What is important in my opinion is, well, the text type. You can also add photo text. Be aware then we'll add text into your photo. So if you go here, say add photo text, you have a photo text underneath, or if you have a big one, it'll be a 2-page spread, for example, it'll often be in the photo itself. Personally, I do not like that, so I'll keep that off. Next important part is basically just the text module itself, or text type module, not text module, sorry for that. Here you can it's your typical type interface. I'd say you decide which font you want to use, the size you have, what's the opacity, tracking, baseline, leading, and kerning. One thing that's pretty cool is that you can create columns. So if we copy some text like this, and then we just mark it, and then we say 2 columns, it'll automatically create some columns for you, meaning you don't have to split them into 2 and create 2 text boxes. One should be enough for 1 page, unless you want to make like a header. Then I'd actually add another one up here and create a different type of text for that, like a headline, make it fat, make it bigger, make it bold, and whatnot. So that's basically the text module. Adding photos is really simple. So simple that you just take it, drag it, drop it, done. There you have your photo. And how you create a custom page is also really simple. After adding your photo, after adding the text boxes the way you want it to be, please don't do it like this. It's kind of ugly. You just right click and then you go down here to save as custom page. And then that page will be a new custom page, as you can see down here. If you want to get rid of it, you can also right click on your layout or on the selection down here, and then you can remove from custom pages. then it's gone again. Right, so that's the first basics. If you want to add a new page, you just click on the last page where you want the next page to be added upon, and then you click Add Page on the right. You can select whatever you want. If it's a 2-page spread, great, as I did here, that's under 2-page spreads. Now be aware if you want to create cool title pages. For example, we created something that was, where is it? I did not select it, that was not smart. Here, this one. You'll have to use InDesign or something similar to achieve this, and then you'll have to import it back into Lightroom as a picture, ideally as a PNG, and then you'll just have to drag and drop it like any other picture. And that's how you basically can get a title page. That's how I did my title pages. Of course, you can make it real simple and just leave out the map, leave out like extras, like the line or whatnot, but it's made for you to just add some text and then just drag and drop the image and put it in there, and not for any fancy things. Right, once you're done, you'd go down here, send book to blurb. Then it would automatically upload the book to blurb. You can give your book a title, you can give your book a subtitle, add the author, and then upload. I'm already automatically signed in, as you can see, and it'll tell you what the price would be. And then in blurb, you can basically tell it, yeah, you want it to be printed and you want to pay for it. Those are the first steps, and those are the first most important things I'd say you have right here on the right side. And that's it. That's it. And now let's get into what you shouldn't do while creating this. Okay, so mistakes to avoid. The first one is perhaps immediately the most important one. And that is if you have a double page, 2-page spread like this, and then you add an image that has an important center. For example, let's add this image. Here, the mountain is the focus of the image, but it's smack dab in the middle. You can see this slight shadow in the middle. And basically that's the fold of the page that goes into the book when it's glued. And that is information that'll just be lost. So what'll probably happen if you print this image as is, that right peak here will just disappear, to be honest. And you should be aware that that's just what happens. So basically centered pictures will not work well in a book that's not a lay flat book. What's a lay flat book? There are certain books that you can order that lay flat when you open them. These are specifically designed and made for photos. If you do that, then usually you can ignore the shade and the middle part, because then it'll be flat like this, and there will not be a crevice that goes in, and that'll basically not create missing information from your photo. So that's that. I personally do not like lay flat photo books, and the reason for it is it really feels like a photo book. It feels like something made for portfolio, and less like a coffee table book that you just can place somewhere in your living room and just have as a little accessory, I guess. But yeah, I prefer the fold, the classic book type, I guess. Number 2, I mentioned it earlier, you should always leave some space on the outside. So basically, if you plan on your photo going over the border, over the edge, then this white space should also have parts of your photo in it, or this gray space. If I remove the photo, you'll see what I mean. Right here, that's the space where they'll do the cut. Once they print the photos, they'll cut each page, so it'll align in the book, and that's when they'll glue it. So anything that's here may disappear, basically. That's why just be aware of that, but at the same time, you should always have your image go over the page if you want the image to just go all the way to the edge once it's printed. Number 2 is basically, if you write a text, as we did, definitely do that in Microsoft Word or in Apple Pages, just in a program where you can have a spell check made, because Lightroom doesn't have a spell check. Be aware that once you print something, usually the printed image will always be darker than the digital image, and therefore you should be aware of dark parts. Now here you have a good image as an example. Basically there's no information here, but that's what I wanted. It's a silhouette shot, but a similar image is this one. Here you can see there is some information, but basically all of this turned out black when I printed the image. It still looks fine. Just be aware that the images will turn out darker than what they actually are on your screen, and maybe adjust them accordingly. So you could just bump the blacks a bit and make it generally brighter. You should just be aware that that can happen. If you have no information in those parts already digitally, of course you won't have anything to be printed there. But as mentioned, even here in this photo, this great shot of the sunset, I lost some information after printing, even though digitally speaking, you can still see some stuff. You should probably print one page as a dummy. And why you should do that is, well, you won't really know what the photos and what the text looks like until you do that. You need to figure out how you want to place images, how big you want the text to be, where you want to have it placed, how well is it readable, the text. You won't want it too big, that'll look goofy. You won't want it too small, you won't be able to read it. So I just recommend print one page with text and a photo just to see how it turns out, and then you can actually also get a feel on how big the text should be. So yeah, that's it. That's the 5 mistakes I would try to avoid. I've made pretty much all of them. We did a test print and figured, oh, the text was way too big at one point, so we made it way smaller, just that it feels more professional. You can actually fit more, but it doesn't feel too big. It doesn't feel like a children's book, so to say. Just be aware of these 5 mistakes that you should probably avoid and have fun with it. So yeah, have fun creating your book. It'll be worth it. I think it's a great little object that's in your house. And I hope this video helps getting your foot into the doorstep. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.